Good evening, my viewers, invigilators. Anyway, so we're here, and of course, we have friends, upper sea guests, friends, people that we've interacted over and over with, and we're just trying to talk and figure out some stuff around specifically this one around the investment space. But the whole idea for us is that how do we, of course, bring forth conversations that normally people don't talk about. We're trying to be as authentic as possible. That's why niko hapa. Mimi ni msao kujibu maswali za ufala. Jessica ni msao intelligent hapa kwa history.
We've been set up.
But for this one,
really been set up.
For real, maybe a quick introduction first, and then to end from there. Sindio?
Okay, I can start. Good evening. My name is Ngatia. I work at KEPSA as the head of projects, but also I'm in charge of the SMEs.
SMEs.
Yes.
Ah, nice. New mlifanya SMEs.
The SME, we partnered with MasterCard, the foundation. We have been implementing a project to fund SME, especially during the COVID, so that they can recover and also be resilience.
Hiyo dai kunifikia bro.
Haikufikia.
Sisi kwani sisi
sababu amuku apply. So if you had to apply, if you didn't apply, then yes.
Hapo sawa. Entrepreneur, farmer, stroke.
Wagwan. Naitwa George Gachara. I'm the managing partner for HEVA Fund. I have to say in English.
Yes.
KPI is Meisha. I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm a farmer. And I'm Julian's friend.
Yeah. I'm also your friend. I used to say it HEVA.
HEVA.
Niko nasemanga yes. Ni HEVA.
It depends with kama unakuja na Kiswahili au English. For Americans they say HEVA.
Oh, it's HEVA.
Na mimi nasema HEVA.
Mimi nilikuwa nasema I remember in a KEPSA meeting I said HEVA. Waswali ni cheki fani.
Kama ile njaro ya USAID.
Bando. And of course,
HEVA, is it a local or American? Now that you have raised the issue.
Okay. It's a local fund established in 2013 to address very specific issues in our ecosystem. So maybe as a way of a background, I'm an artist. I have an artistic background. I've run a production company for close to 15 years. We've made music, film, literature, fashion. And so we always realized that there was no one in the market who can invest in us or give us credit.
Yeah, man.
And then unajua tuna believe, be the change you want to see. So a few years back, like 9 years ago, my co-director akaniambia, hizi yapa yako mingi na kizungu mob. Si utengeneze hiyo fund unasemaga. And so many years later, tuko tu hapa. We've invested in over 100 businesses across East Africa. Recently, we launched a fund for 11 countries in the region. We've spoken to people around the world, the French, the British, Germans, the EU, and all of them have given us a small pocket to test whether tutahepa na do au tutafanya God's work. So that's what I do. That's what I do
nice.
on the daily.
And of course, my co-host,
Jessica Colaco, tech entrepreneur and upcoming musician.
Upcoming artist. Remember the last show you guys were at the rock band?
So I see upcoming. Mimi ni artist.
Ukijicompare na mimi unaona wewe ni upcoming.
Ni normal we.
Hapo sijakata.
When ni expert.
Hapo sijakata. Okay. Sawa LinkedIn, sawa. I get it. So I mean the reason why hii conversation I feel funny is because when we were sitting out there, muliniambia kila kitu. So, and I mean, maybe nifanye lecture or something, but I don't think I can say it exactly how you guys said it. But for me, I just wanted to let the flow. Niache flow.
Cool.
Alafu waswaje bambi. So, for you na story HEVA, so far mmepatiana 2 billion, ndio?
No, we have committed. We've raised. Unataka niseme hizi vitu kwa microphone. KRA watanisikia bra. So I'm tax compliant and all. So over the period of time, we've raised quite a bit of money. We've raised debt capital, equity capital, and the way kuna appetite in the market, creative industry can grow as we expand our borders. We go to other people and ask them, give us some cash.
Where have you raised from?
I've raised from most European countries, Western European countries. So I have a contract with the British, I have a contract with the French, who are my first investors actually. I took a debt facility of $1 million in 2018 from the French. We have a big contract right now of about $6 million from the EU. And so what we do is that we estimate where we want to go, and then we try and raise that money, and hopefully people meet us halfway. They see our plans, they see our history, and most important, they see what the creative industry is doing. And I don't know, maybe his experience is better, but people like Giuliani created a space where if you're a creative, you're an artist, you can occupy public space. You can be bold and courageous about the size of things that you do. Nakumbuka going to one of your concerts in the middle of the city, closing all the streets.
Pulpit
Kwa Street. And now we're seeing a lot of more artists, more creatives, producers taking on big challenges. Tosh Gitonga just shot a Netflix film that was above $1 million. You see, we have many good examples. And
How did he actually convince Netflix to promote?
So I currently work for Netflix as a partner, and Netflix works with many partners. And so there are people who come around and tell you, you can pitch this project to this partner. And so I hope that he took that path. The buying office for Netflix is in South Africa and in Netherlands, so Najua travel akapitch. And the questions they asked, maybe in the future we can discuss them.
But can you yes. Maybe as a reference. So mimi
yes,
nikitaka kudu ngoma, nikitaka kudu album, nikitaka kufanya nini, I have to go back to my initial pocket and initial whatever. Where else msali beli nini, they can get nini from a bank, they can get a facility easy, maybe because of the value of the land or whatever. So basically that's what you're trying to bridge your gap here. Mseka mimi ule ana siezi understood in this space. You understand my language and that's what you're trying to.
Well, I'll give you an example. So someone who needs to build this property is necessarily just a guy who has been involved in many construction projects. He doesn't have to own the building, he doesn't have to own the land, but he has to have the right company that has a track record of doing big projects like this to structure the different parts. So atakuja kwa Giuliani and say, Giuliani, I want a joint venture with you. Wewe uko na land, mimi nitaleta financing. Haya, ukisema haya, let's sign me and you. Wewe uko na land, mimi najua kwenye nitapata do. Alafu niende nitafute construction company, ifanye valuation nini ma plans, tujue bill of quantities. Hapa tutachajiwa 200 mic kujenga hii kitu na tuko na land. So we look at how to raise the 200 mic. So tutaangalia pre-sales, tukiadvertise hii kitu tuseme iko na 500,000 square feet, tuambie watu wa buy off plan, we can raise 30% before we break ground. So ushafanya pre-sales, watu wameanza kudeposit. Alafu unaangalia, we have a shortfall of how much? We have a shortfall of 40%. We go to this guy and tell him, by the way, you have a supermarket chain. We will reserve this all the first 3 floors for you and some bank. Put in some cash, so we raise another 10%. What I'm trying to say is that raising money is not asking for 100%. It's how you structure the kind of money you need. There's watu wa short-term finance, kuna watu wa equity, kuna watu wa credit. That's how people raise money in business. So money is not money. Money is the structure of money. and to see which money is cheap, which money is expensive, and which one comes first. So pre-sales, huyo jamaa, hiyo nyumba ni yake, anaiona kwa akili. So unatengeneza show house, unaonesha vile furniture zitakaa, unamwambia ukilipa saizi na kupea discount. So anakuletea capital. So ukishatengeneza waterfall, ushajenga building. So
nimekupata kumbe umeenda mnigeti.
Even artists and creatives need to sophisticate. Ukitaka kutengeneza film, hauwezi kuja kuniambia George, I want 100% of this film. Kuja tu na sophistication, unaniambia me I've put in artistic labor of this amount. That's my equity. Someone else can give me this, someone else can give me this. The risk is this. This is how I've hedged the risk. Tukitengeneza hii film kama itanunuliwa na Netflix, kuna Showmax, kuna nini, na niko na contracts nao na washaangalia, wame-approve hii kitu. So unaangalia risk, unaangalia investment, unaangalia return. Hiyo sasa ndio kutengeneza pesa.
But
creative industry haijafika hapo.
Gotcha. Yeah. What about the younger people, like the Giulianis can structure those kind of deals? What about the younger artists who look up to the likes of Giuliani and other artists in the industry? How do they approach you?
Mwambie venye uliniambia pale. There's a way you put it which was made sense to me.
But I'd like to say that the older artists should take a risk on the younger artists. Okay. The government should take a risk on the younger artist. Philanthropists should take a risk on the younger artist, because development is development. You know, in sophisticated society, when our artists go to Berkeley School of Music, they've gone to there's this famous school in London, Central St. Martin's, vitu kama hizo unakuta. Central St. Martin's is a lot of people get scholarships to go there. Where do the scholarships come from? Rich people like Giuliani have dominated some money, saying, let
not refused.
Let kids go to Nairobi University, and I'll pay half of it, so that then they have a leg in. So that me as a commercial fund, I don't have to think about development and also commercial. So there has to be enough institutions. Kama KEPSA has this fund, which is almost a free fund to support development. So we have to think about who takes the cost of development and who takes the cost of commercial. Commercial is taxed. Commercial has to give returns. So you can't put that pressure on a young artist. It's unfair. So Giuliani makes good enough money. He makes a Giuliani Academy. A Giuliani Academy.
Na Giuliani scholarships, ama?
No, we have Dandora Hip Hop City.
And this is the thing, and he's already doing that. And then now, government of Kenya should say, hey, this guy is credible. Let's put in desks there. Let's put computers. Let's send some teachers to support the Dandora. That's development. And then, ukishapika mtu, akuwe na project moja, mbili, track record, sasa akuje kwa George Gachara. Na mwanzia seed, kabla afike Netflix level.
So when you seed?
Kuna facility.
Uni ule mzee. I mean, hiyo seed ni sababu tu anataka kusaidia.
Kuna facilities
when you pre-seed ama ni angel ama
hizo swali zimekuja.
Actually kabla ujibu hiyo. Kabla ujibu hiyo, because I wanted to be nikuandaka nani Harrison atuambie for you simulipata na do Mastercard. Si atukupata. Because we didn't apply, but other people walipata. So with the same thing, the same thinking George anatupatia about building this house. Is that the same way you're looking at it? Msee lazima kuna traction already ndio mpatie ama idea level development?
No, what we did is that we had some criteria that we worked with the partners that were involved, Mastercard being the financier. So we were looking at supporting women and youth because they are the most vulnerable, especially when you come to accessing funding. And we were supporting all the sectors of the economy. So we were looking at youth between 18 to 35, then women between 18 to 70. So we were also looking at, because it was not a grant, it was a loan, but no interest, no collateral. A very short-term loan of 6 months, looking at between 100,000 to 1.5. So we had so many applications. Applications were many, but some of the issues that we noted is most of the applicants were not eligible, were not looking at the eligibility, or they were not ready to absorb the fund.
How many did you support?
We supported around 106 businesses with the range of 100 to 1.5. But only around, if you look at those who are eligible, because we had more, we could have absorbed more, is that we got application of around 1,000, but only around 10% were eligible. So,
What made the others not eligible?
most of the businesses are informal. They don't keep records, so you cannot be able to tell whether once they get the cash, they will be able to pay back. Because
actually, this idea of formal versus informal is the most defining feature of businesses, young businesses in the 11 countries that I have had exposure to. And so sometimes I think that systems should start to think about informal sector financing that comes closer to understanding how people create businesses. Even HEVA, we haven't come close enough as much as we would want, but it's important to start to think, especially anyone who's building a financial facility. Nanajua, this guy has more money than me, so I'll speak slowly so that asini. I can sharp it at 35. So anyway, formalization for me means taking additional business cost. Let me explain it. You're a guy, umeambiwa naweza kuonesha a place to get those shoes, whether it's made locally or abroad, but then you can market it, you can put a stall somewhere, you can make that stall look amazing, play music, have a place where people can sit and feel nice, and you do your display, and then mtaa yote hakuna kompe ya viatu. So you feel like you have a market, and you can get 50K from your friends or your family. And then you have 15K, unachukua stock nusu, ukiuza unarudisha hivi. In 1 year or 2, umejaza your business. Umebrand, kuna tattoo artist hapo ndani, there's a PS game. So all the kids around there, they buy your shoes from you. You become a business. You've operated there for a year. Everyone in that area knows you have a business. But from a bank's perspective, you don't have a business.
But, so where you're at that level.
Yes.
At that level, just because they haven't formalized.
Yes.
Remember from our earlier conversation, just because they haven't formalized, as much as I wanaiona differently,
Yes.
pia wanaiona as development angle more than.
So I'll give you a story. What is formalization? Formalization is that you have registered. You have paid your taxes. You have paid your kanjo ticket, your license.
Yes.
Your employees have contracts, they are paying payee, kosa. Kama ni takataka inachukuliwa na kanjo, unajua kwenye inapelekwa. Kama ni pesa yote unapata, unaweka kwa bank, ndio utoe.
Because of the history.
The credit history.
And probably I can come in there because we didn't look at so many those formalization. We were just looking at whether you have a license or a registration certificate.
So I'll give you
But don't you think that's an opportunity, Juliani? I mean, that's a huge opportunity for you to actually invest in those informal businesses.
So no. It's not an opportunity.
Why?
Because you're giving money to an individual.
Yes.
The risk is too high.
The risk is too high for an institution.
Yes.
Hata kama siku
I want to challenge the status quo here, man. Because I feel like...
How would you do it? Tell me.
Yes.
Okay.
I've given you 10 mic right now. Find businesses.
10 mic ni mob, like
And
actually, 1 mic.
Yes.
1 mic.
Yeah.
And you need to return that money.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys put me on the spot, but what I'd do is... earlier in earlier conversations, we were talking about the hubs, right? So, like Dandora Hip Hop City, I'd find like a place like that and then pick 5 businesses, the individuals now, and actually try and mentor them and actually put them around people who can actually coach them to create
So you're
a
saying
sustainable
this.
business.
Let,
I'll have to.
let me go
yeah,
there.
let's
So
go.
you have 1 million shillings. You have to find the 5 businesses.
Correct.
And then you have to find people to help those businesses become
Correct.
something that is. So you are spending more than the 1 million shillings to make that business
Yes.
become investable.
But you see, the thing is,
let's continue.
no, hold on. As this is the effort we need to make.
Yes.
This is
So what you're
what
saying,
we need to put in.
we need development so that we can create businesses.
Correct.
And development expenditure so we can create individual, private business owners so that they can get your money.
From your conversation earlier,
Yes.
the only thing you were saying,
Yes.
you're so clear about, is that we need to separate. We need to separate, say,
Development.
youth fund is not business. When msako biashara ya kuku, biashara ya nguruwe, biashara nini, hiyo ni development angle more than, I mean, it doesn't mean that it can't be a business, but kama haja formalize, aweka do yako uende lost, alafu afanyi taxes zake, whatever, hiyo ni business, hiyo ni kando. Before, hiyo ni utatupigia story ya Harriet baadaye. But if you distinguish that, then kila mtu anajua place yake. So wewe ukiweka mita yako, unajua unaweka mita yako not for business, thinking it's development. You're just putting your money for
Development.
na unajua
Ni incubation.
huyu jamaa utampatia 100k but utaspend a million kutry to provide an environment for them.
Yes.
To nini. So let's separate those.
Let me come in. Yeah, because we had 2 components of that project.
Okay.
We had the funding component and now the development component.
Yes.
The development component was looking at capacity building of through training, through mentorship, peer-to-peer mentorship, coaching. So we had a session with entrepreneurs to take them through that. And one of the key things that we did, even in the coaching, especially in the coaching, is how we take them through a 3 month in preparing them what they need to prepare their business so that they can access funding. So what do funders look for? They will look for business plan. They will look for, they look for your history in terms of transaction, financial transactions. So you need to keep books for you need to project what, if you get more money, what will that money change in your business and how you can be able to repay. So we took them all that, and through that process, we were able now to link them to the funding aspect, which is very different.
Okay.
Funding aspect, we look at how people can repay.
More of a business.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how you can repay back the money.
I think now we are on the same page.
Yes.
But
George, haiko the same, haiko your page.
George ako page ingine.
George haiko your page.
Goja. Your investment, what percentage was split for capacity building and development, and what was split for businesses?
It was almost 50-50 because we got funding from a partner who is keen in developing businesses, in building a pipeline for especially creating employment, because that's their main, and sustaining businesses, because that was their main objective.
So nyinyi bado mko development, because kanza yo partner kwanza, it's a program within the organization. Yes. So inamaanisha after a year.
Yes. But we are preparing them in a way that now the financiers, the banks, the microfinance, the funds that are available, HEVA fund, they can now be able to get a pipeline of some prepared businesses that they can also fund. I think that is the difference between us.
Juliani, let me get in here and say, okay, so the most sustainable business is the one that has customers who buy at a given point, and they leave you a margin for you to run.
And actually he's right, because the difference is, and I actually support him more, because there was no distinction between both.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was no distinction, and you put it earlier, between development, which you're preparing the land before you plant.
Yes.
So we are not you prepare the land, because initially he was preparing the land alafu bado na kama na
Alafu
plan.
ilikuwa ngumu,
plan.
So anafanya two jobs.
Two jobs at the same time.
Yes,
And it was expensive.
And to be honest, I support this work. I support development work. And so when I go back to that example of my guy in my store, and this is someone I'm talking about, and I talk Cruz. I buy sneakers from him. They're all knockoffs. But he makes a good amount of money. He has a good family. They live decently. He has a small motif that's pimped. Like, he has achieved his vision of the enterprise he was trying to build. So the reason why Cruz has not formalized is that for his business to be sustainable, for him to continue taking home 15K, 20K every 2 weeks, he can't go pay lawyers to formalize. Sijui trademarks, sijui kanjo things. Like, that's an extra business cost that cuts on his margin because he can't transfer that cost to his buyers. Nobody in the mtaa will buy a sneaker for more than 2K or 3K. So if you ask him to formalize, you're asking him to take an unnecessary cost that will kill his business. And so for me, the question is, from a public sector perspective, like KEPSA talks to Gava, they say they are doing business reform. They do business reform for big business. They don't do for small business. So if this Gava was interested in a small operator like Cruz, what they would do, maybe nimesikia watu wengi wanasema hizo vitu kwa Azimio, sijui kwa Kenya Kwanza, whatever.
I'll also need to correct you at some point.
Wacha nikuchome kiasi.
Yeah, nikuchome,
alafu
lakini
utakam.
Nita correct.
It's good for conversation.
Yes.
I'm a member of KEPSA, card paying member for 5 years, so this is
Mimi member lakini sijai pay.
Bra.
I expect some maybe.
But when is celebrity?
Oh, yeah.
Unaleta
Social capital.
Social capital. You're making them look good. They should even pay you. Anyway, for Cruz to be able to I should focus. For Cruz to be able to formalize, there has to be a business incentive for him to formalize. It's not an incentive, it is nice, or like you went to a training for 3 months that you formalize. There has to be a business incentive that it will make sense for him to formalize. So let me give you an example. If Cruz today got an order, supply Kabarak Primary School with tafis, 600 kids, give them a pair of shoes. What do you need? You need this certificate and da. Cruz can't.
Nope.
But if he has the ambition of growing his shoe supply business, now as it's growing, then now he can formalize. Say, because I'm interested in this kind of tenders, because I'm interested to open 3 or 4 branches across the city, in another place, then now I can think about becoming a bigger business. And this is now the difference between someone who's doing a small business and a medium business.
So where as an investor, where do you meet Cruz? Do you meet them at the scaling level?
So I have had to ask
because initially, I'm just using the information that was shared to me.
Yeah.
You're doing both.
Yes.
But the only difference that ume distinguish. So umesema wewe hutafanya hii kazi sana.
So I prefer to, because sina hiyo pesa mimi gava, mimi lazima nitafute hiyo do. So I prefer to meet him when he's scaling. Okay. But if I wait for anyone who's scaling, I can't have business. So I'll have to look for free money, cute money, nice money, so that I can meet Cruz halfway.
Okay.
So if Cruz comes to me and says, I have an LPO from Moi Primary School to supply shoes. Ni boarding school, hawatapea mtu mwingine hiyo opportunity, but watanilipa upolepole. I'll give him 70%.
Okay.
But Moi Primary has to pay me first before they pay him. Because Cruz is not a formal business. So mimi ndio nitaenda ni sign your contract na Moi Primary. Nipe Cruz kazi. Because I have to secure the investment. Now this is where business comes in. But Cruz atasema, unaninyanyasa, you are taking my rights. So I'll be like, then bring security for the money I'm giving you. He doesn't have it. So if MasterCard were actually on the side of Cruz, they'd have set up half of that fund for guarantees. So Cruz akitaka kugrow atakuja sema, me I don't want credit, but nataka ambia George, if I don't pay, you'll pay him.
Okay, so Cruz, nyinyi mmepata Cruz. What you're saying is that Cruz akona hustle yake ya kiatu whatever, but even with that hustle and ana make 50K yake, bado just because ana hii a qualify in any form.
Yes. And one of the things I want to correct you.
Yes.
You don't need a lawyer to register currently.
Wagwan.
You don't need a lawyer.
Okay.
You just need to go to the eCitizen. There are two types of legislation. As a limited company, which you can choose, or as a sole proprietor.
Oh boys, anatupe half information. Haya, sawa, tumeingia eCitizen.
Yes.
Tumeregister.
Yes.
Cruise has an LLC, limited liability company. Cruise Inc.
Yes.
What does that come with? It comes with a KRA certificate.
PIN.
Yes. So what does that ask him?
But sole proprietor?
Wait. Tuendelee.
No, that's why I'm giving options, because you need also to give me opportunity to talk. So that I can also. You have two options.
Yes.
Sole proprietor, which does not have a lot of those processes.
Okay.
And it still was acceptable to us.
Okay.
For as a type of registration. In fact, we preferred even that, so that we help you to grow, to ensure that you can also register as a limited company. We look at your transaction, and we are looking transaction in a very simple. We are looking at not just bank statement, but M-Pesa, because we know Kenyan trade through M-Pesa.
M-Pesa records.
So we are looking at your M-Pesa record.
Let me wacha tuishift kidogo.
Yes.
So KEPSA.
Yes.
So KEPSA, nyinyi more competition ya cruise than any other, because your businesses are membership businesses, ndio?
Yes.
But you're trying to help the governments. Why are you doing the fund? Is it
to support our members?
No, cruise si member wenyu bado, because cruise has 100K.
No. But for SME, we have nearly for SMEs. We have membership categories for SME.
Yes.
Starting
but
at 10.
Cruise, as he said,
Yes.
cannot be eligible.
But KEPSA is a membership organization. You should also remember that. So we are there to serve our members.
Wacheni nitetee KEPSA.
Yes.
Wacheni nitetee KEPSA.
See, hata si noma sio hiyo. Kenye nataka get at ni for me is just because the issue hapa sio the details. The issue is the definitions. Before you even come up with solutions.
Yes.
The issue need definition. Mimi venye nimeongea na George, alinidefine two different. Alinidefine there's a big difference between business and there's a big difference between msichana try ku idea. So mimi niko na idea. Siwezi enda kwa nani immediately, but bado nanianza nigeido. George anazigeido based on my experience, ndio. There's other things that you said, factors that play. So before we go to the solutions and whatever, I just trying to understand so that we define everything first.
Yes.
Before we come to convention ingine. So definition yangu ni kuna level ya cruise na pia kuna level lower than cruise. Now and then kuna level ingine ndio sasa tufike level ya KEPSA members. Si ndio? So let's not assume that we are talking about level ya cruise, probably tunaongea hii level ingine. So wewe hao tunaongea kuhusu 3 months, probably ni watu si level ya cruise ni lower. Because cruise ana make do yake, he doesn't need to spend time with you doing trainings. Sindio?
But we are looking at people who want to access, even cruise could be in a level that he wants to access funding, but since he is not prepared, he needs someone who can hold him to prepare him for funding. I think those are the ones who are targeting. People who want to prepare their business to get funding. They have tried.
Can you give examples? Examples.
They have tried going out. In fact, most of those who came to the program have tried going out to most of the funding institutions, whether banks, whether microfinance, whether funding. They have applied even to HEVA funds and all other funds, but they were not able to access. So they wanted then to come to our program so that we prepare them so that they can now go back more prepared.
But what you're saying is, out of that program, can you give examples of people who, crews who have gone through the program and come back to these funding vehicles?
Yes.
How successful has that been?
It has been very successful. In fact, it has been very successful. We just finished a monitoring of the program, We did it once end of last year, and we are planning another one.
Numbers.
Yes.
Come on.
We trained around 55. Out of those 55, even before they finished, 3 were able to get funding, and one was able to get more than 500,000 immediately before they finished.
Juliani, mi
Because
naona shida.
the issue is not that they are not in
55.
business.
Not only tatu. Ay,
No. But I'm saying before the. I've not said after.
kuna gap.
No, I mean actually kenye mimi nasema ni aje. Hata watatu iko sawa.
Yes.
Bora ame move certain levels, ndio. Now 55 bado iko sawa. The only difference is that we didn't define it initially. We didn't say. So George, ukipigia story yako ya Harriet. So initially we thought we were failing just because we were looking at it wrongly. Because when Youth Fund was saying Kaminika kawe ni mwanabiashara kuna do for mimi nimetry kwenda Youth Fund kabla nifikie 35. Nimeenda Youth Fund mara kadhaa nilikuwa nachujwa. Unaona, because mimi niko idea level. I've just tried an idea. I don't have tangible assets, whatever. Okay, I had as a musician, but as the idea itself, I didn't have tangible whatever. So, but also nikienda kwa HEVA, probably HEVA will listen to me because they understand the space yangu. I have 3 albums, so I have traction. I've sold whatever. So HEVA might listen to me more than
The
Youth Fund.
Youth Fund.
Youth Fund.
So if I understand kazi ya Youth Fund specifically, sitasumbua Youth Fund na ni complain kuhusu Youth Fund.
Kweli.
Mimi ndakam tu niseme mimi nafaa tu kuongea na HEVA. So mimi ukiniambia kuna do, any young person in this country, if you tell them right now kuna do, watakam. But now, that's why utakuwa na 1,000. But only 3 is qualified because ours wengine maybe 50% of your 100,000 hata 5 kamkuwa in the first place.
Yeah.
Unaona, so hiyo ndio now we'll feel like failures because we didn't define.
And one of the things that we are doing to address that, we are being supported by International Trade Center to develop a portal where SME can get into and be able to see what are the available financing opportunities that are available. So that there is, there's one of the things that business lack, most of is the information.
Yeah.
So you can go to that portal, look at the available financing opportunities, look at the eligibility criteria and see which ones fits to your requirements. Then you apply there. So that's something that we are almost finalizing, and I should be able to address some of the gaps that we are already started to.
I think everybody's doing something. The only difference is, before we ongea alafu to kuhusu Harriet, is that I mean, even the reason why for me, I felt it was necessary to do the NSW, Nairobi Startup Week, is that, first of all, people are, kila mtu anaongea kivyake huko, everybody's fragmented. So, tukipatana tunapigana mavita. Yet, we are supposed to be complementary. You actually complimenting him.
Yes.
But him, he's been working on this and then aka define space yake. So all through when he lost 50 million and then now he's given 2 billion, is because he finally found his place na ina flow a certain way. Nikintroduce story ya Harriet.
Sasa, before Harriet aingie, I have to put some things that are fundamental to this discussion. Who is a Kenyan businessman? What is the vision of who a Kenyan businessman is? Because tunasemaga things like businesswoman or a business person. 2/3. So, Poleni, I know my board would be upset. Who is a Kenyan SME? Because tunasemaga hii kitu ni kama ni kitu inajulikana. So
But the definition for SMEs is also very fluid.
Yes.
Very fluid. By the way, if you look at definition of SME or the business, everyone defines the way they want.
But let's go to the things that people know.
Yes.
Kenya is a country of 45 to 50 million people.
Yes.
About 60% of these are below the age of 35. Our median age, ile tukichanganywa hivi kwa gorogoro turushwe hivi, median age is 19.
19, yes.
So if you take the understanding that If we were pressed into a burger, we'd be a 19-year-old. You know, like we would be a 19-year-old. What capacity do you expect a 19-year-old to have? You know, what capital do you expect a 19, 20, 23-year-old to have? What knowledge do you expect them to have? Say, their median is 27. 27-year-old person has experience, knows how to go to a bank, they've driven a car, they probably have earned some money, but our median is 19. So anyone who's speaking about money in this country, especially big money, complicated money, is only talking to a very small group of people. Majority of people have no capital accumulation, have no specialized skill, no business awareness or acumen. They probably just left their parents' home. So this guy is doing God's work because they're spending a lot of money getting those people to understand business, to touch money for the first time. That's money that they didn't get from their family, to take it to market and fail. But when you talk about business, it's something that you took a risk, you put money in it, it can succeed, it can fail. So the conditions of it to succeed or fail can become public policy. So you cannot say that a country is an entrepreneurial country without an investment in creating entrepreneurs, in safeguarding entrepreneurship. And that's where public expenditure comes in, private but free expenditure comes in, like MasterCard. And so I'm there for it. But someone like me who has to get private money, what is private money? Somebody somewhere saved their money, whether they sold something or they earned or whatever, they made money. And then they're telling me, George, go invest this money. It is already the most expensive money in the market because it took time for that person to gather it, and then they expect a return on it. So my money is not the best money, truly. I always tell people private equity isn't the most expensive money in the market. The cheapest money is public grants and subsidies and family money. After that, it's SACCO loans. You go save, and then you use your savings 3 times to do your biashara. If you want more sophisticated money now, you have to also come with a business mind for more sophisticated money. MasterCard itself is a real business. They're just using part of their profit, and not even most of it, just a small part of it, to do good. And one day, maybe they can change their mind. But the purpose of business is to have a business where it has a customer, it has a product, you sell at a given price, you get money back, you pay your people, you pay your responsibilities, you pay your tax, and you still go back home with something. So we do not have a lot of those. And informality is a way of cutting business cost. So this guy tells me, I have to go back there, that Cruz can go onto the platform and get a private business, sole proprietorship. Hiyo hata chargewa company tax, but itabidi akikuwa na employee aweke NITA fee. Akiuza kiatu moja, peane VAT. Na lazima anunue mashini ya VAT ya 50K au ya 12K. Alafu waweke single business permit ni 15K Nairobi County. Akiweka board hapo nje ni 10K. So the cost of formalization is a real cost to real business. So no one can just walk in here and just say, hey, formalization is nice. The real implication of formalization is business cost. It operates on your profit and loss account. And so it's not a thing people should take up. They should only take up when they can sustain it. So my issue is there a public policy that understands a majority of our businesses cannot formalize, and can we create packages for formalization?
But that's what KEPSA is doing, no?
That is what
policy
KEPSA,
level.
If you look at the businesses in Kenya, over 70% are informal.
All of them?
Yeah, over 70% of business in Kenya are
70 or more?
70, yeah, around 80. Around 80% of the business that operate in Kenya are informal. And basically it's because of what Gachara is.
But when we talk about, maybe nimeenda sana, but when you talk about, I mean, in the space of startups and whatever, it's from a place of creating solutions, finding whatever. That's like creating new businesses in quotes. It's not new, but creating new businesses. Sio niko na kiatu mbili, nataka niuze at a higher price, ni get difference. So maybe kuirudisha tu hapo kwa hiyo space ya startup, inamaanisha Ukiniambia 70% of or 80% biashara ni informal. Kenye unamaanisha ni sio ni jua kali, mtumba, mama mboga. Unaona? So you're not saying specifically for this space peke yake, because let's and I want to touch it. That's your story hari yet inakam. Okay. Yeah. So because what you're saying, what you're telling me earlier is that not only Harriet created angeenda by an chemist. Sindio?
Yes.
And the chemist atry kuuza as many dawas as possible, akona variety different ya dawa, ni duka tu ya madawa
zile zimetengenezwa na watu wengine.
And then alipe tu kanjo 20 bob whatever you need, but your margin ana make do, sindio? So you need business the way you want to whatever. But what I want to niyo ku create environment ya creativity and creating. Because even when you talk about 80% business, it's not creation level. It's trading.
It's trading. In fact,
trade.
In fact, if you look at the businesses that we are saying in Kenya, most of the business are in trade, wholesale, and retail.
And services.
Services are even better because you require some skills to do it. If you look at the trade, wholesale and retail, you just buy, add your margin, and sell.
Yeah.
So you are not adding any value. And I think that's what now, as a country, we need now to think: how do we ensure that we can be able to support that ecosystem where we add more value even to agriculture products? Ensure that we are creating more processing and manufacturing that support the big businesses and those linkages. So, and also we need good business environment and policies to support them, and infrastructure. Look, where do they need to start up? Because manufacturing, you need big space. Do you have?
I think from what I'm hearing George saying, I think sustainable business models is key. Yes. For these businesses to thrive.
But what I'm saying, we need as a country to support, because if you look at most developed countries, the public sector usually supports those startups, then they are able now to move.
That's what you're saying.
I mean,
yes.
Since you're talking about government, let's talk about the Konza Technopolis, right? Right now with the express highway, you can get to Konza Technopolis city much.
Who?
Umenilostisha hapo.
Who can get there?
Hold on. This is what I'm saying. Like, there was a board appointed by the CS of ICT and Youth, and they are set to actually promote to the entrepreneurs and startups that they should actually have events there, they should have their businesses there. Now, what are your thoughts on that, George?
So, I'm a simple man. I look at things with clarity. Government is doing great creating incubators. There's some at small level, there's some at large level. Konza for me is a massive incubator, or a vision of an incubator, because I've visited. They are laying pipes and dams. So it's still...
ukisema lay pipe, excuse me, na sound baya.
Okay, I take that back. They're digging trenches.
You're playing a sound baya.
Anyway.
It's my mind.
Come back to business. Kuna building moja after several billions.
Broken ground, kuna buildings.
What is an incubator that a Kenyan knows instinctively? That if you are a young woman who didn't finish high school, but now because of Kibaki and Free, okay, you finished high school. I'm talking about, and that you have no specialized skill, and your mother was a tailor. Where is the first place you go to imagine you can make money when you leave your house? A market. I don't know if Kenyans go to markets anymore, but Nairobians go to malls. But if you don't live in Westlands,
the city,
you go to a market. In a market, you'll find a cyber cafe, you'll find a tailor, you'll find a butcher. That's Kenya's first incubator for small enterprises. In that market, you find someone who is knitting children booties, zile mboshori. You find someone who is repairing clothes, who is making new garments, vitenge za church. You find someone doing, there's productivity at the market. So before we even go to Konza, which is like high-level stuff, you know?
Light years.
Yeah, but someone can move from like Dagoretti market, hopefully eventually to setting up a thing at Konza. But what is that journey? My thing about public policy is first to recognize where people are. You cannot go set up a Konza and imagine like some guy who was educated in Nakurude, just did a kekos at Kabarak Njoro, will be the guy you are telling to use the superhighway to go set up at Konza. Like, I don't know. It just
But
doesn't
at
make
different
sense.
level, different
Eventually.
needs. For me, I feel like it's okay.
Yes.
Because I mean, as a creative, imagination plays a big part in everything.
Yes.
So I create before even take the first step.
Yes.
So I have to imagine it, whatever. So I have my reference about incubation and sijui nini is what it has to be this level first before I start. So ukiniambia something close to me kwanza, of course initially when you ukiwa mswaocha mkieta the nearest market hapo ndio ukam weekend unaoga unaenda party ni safi unaenda get mamanzi ujai wanatoka mtaa unaona. So hapo ndio first incubator ni mimi. So at that particular level I'm served. And then siku moja ni relative wangu aniambie kuja Nairobi. And then the next the immediate one ni Kibera. Kabla hata ninge city center. And then siku moja best yangu ananiambia ndio tuende. So huyo jamaa ata go through the whole process whatever. But kuna mse mimi nilizaliwa Dandora. Of course nikiwa form 4 is the first time nilienda Tao. And then nimeona Tao, and then so I need to fika level flani where there's something here that you need to create from scratch. So I understand why. Now I understand more why that level is needed. But if you expect me so and that's what you're saying earlier, if you expect him so Dandora ku leapfrog mpaka huko, hapo ndio kuna problem.
So I'll give you what, like creating intellectual property, creating original ideas, creating a business. To say you're the guy who's created Sandy or Jumia or Zaitwanini is the Silicon Valley innovations. Those things are team sports. They're sophisticated games. But Kenya, we still do solo games, marathon. You know, like you have a talent. You can sing,
go deep.
Run by yourself. God will meet you somewhere. So what I'm saying, like the place for public sector
go deep.
is to allow team sports.
Go deep.
Yeah?
Baki tu hapo kwanza.
Acha niketi.
Yani team sport. Hiyo ni deep, man.
We need to create ecosystems that help people do team sports. You know, like we have to create an environment where creatives are produced. How do you produce a creative? How do you produce a Giuliani?
It takes time.
It takes time.
I mean, you can't. It's easy. It's not that easy to create the Giuliani.
Yeah. And this is what I'm saying. How do you create a Juliana Rotich? How do you create? You have to invest in people. You have to invest in skills. You have to invest in them, in giving them opportunities to fail. You have to expose their minds. You have to give them tools to play so that then those tools become obvious for them to use, you know? For you to become excellent at creating new ideas, you have to be used to creating new ideas.
And so if we talk about level, so let's not talk about the SMEs. Let's talk about even your membership side.
Yes.
So your membership is not those people, your membership is traders, no?
You know, KEPSA being an apex body, we look at all sectors. We look at all sectors of the economy, and that's why We have members in education, security, health.
But it's straight. The reason I'm asking that is,
Yes.
You know, initially, you were given an example about spaces like this.
Yes.
It was another government's money,
Yes.
which created this space.
Yes.
So before even people are forced to be traders because that's the only option they have.
That's the easiest.
Sindio?
Yes.
That's the only, there's no other reference or whatever, sindio? Now, so KEPSA can negotiate. We are using KEPSA because not because tunachoma. I'm just trying to use
I understand, yes.
the same moment to make an example. So where if you go to negotiate, you won't negotiate as. You will negotiate as a trader. You will negotiate as a manufacturer. And manufacturer is not manufacturer creating new products. It's manufacturer creating some but it's a manufacturer. So we're negotiating yako, so you're negotiating for mimi. You're not negotiating for me unless I become a member.
No, but when we negotiate for every policy, it impacts every business.
I impact cruise.
It does.
It impacts everyone.
It'll impact cruise, but it'll take time. By the time we even reach there.
No, every policy, every policy.
It will impact.
So I'll give you an example. And I'm a member of KEPSA, and I want to negotiate for a fair trading environment. I want better taxation policy. I want importation to be regulated so that I don't have unfair competition as a manufacturer here. You know, like KEPSA already has a perspective of the economics that they negotiate from.
Yes, and I would want to give an example, like during COVID. I want to give now a specific.
A real example.
Yes, during
a real example.
Yeah, during
The others were not.
Yeah, during COVID, we negotiated with government for taxes, several taxes to go down,
to be lowered.
Yeah. Corporate tax went from 30 to 25%. VAT went down from 16 to 14%. Then pay as you earn was also reduced, and also their bracket, a bracket that less than 24,000, which were it was increased from 14 to 24,000, where you start paying pay as you earn. So when we did that, that affected everyone, not only KEPSA members. So that's why I'm saying the policies that KEPSA pushes does not affect just the members, but affects everyone in the business.
Positively and negatively.
I'll give you an example.
No, the reason why I put example, Kenya try kusema ni aje. So I'm trying. Let's not try to be defensive.
Yes.
We're not being defensive. Kenya try kusema ni aje is that mimi niko space ya as Juliani niko space ya changing mindsets. So that once somebody's mind is set and they feel the freedom of they can whatever, and then we graduate into another level. So I'm graduate level like Jessica. So Jessica and say, hey, you have an idea, we are not sure about it, but we like you and we like what you need and we like your experience. So let's put $10,000 hapo. And then imekuna mejakuni unaona. And then after hiyo joke imehata. So and then
an internal joke. It's an internal joke.
So
to a Riverside.
Once that may happen, I'm a graduate, a traction, business, nini. I'm like, it's creative, whatever. So nini I can like, I can ongezea extra. So it's a scale, do whatever. So now I'm a scale. Ako kila pahali nini, but anashida na kanjo, anashida na taxes, I make the enough profit, whatever. So ani member sasa wa KEPSA. So I make a member ya KEPSA. So once I make a member ya KEPSA, now it's not more defensive. Trying to minimize, I'm creating more jobs, so work on your taxes, government, you're negotiating. So think from that point of view when we are talking. We are talking from a place of the ecosystem needs all these players. So where I identify and be true to the play and even know the role you're playing, so that it makes sense to the whole space.
The whole ecosystem.
So I'm just giving that to understand. We add into the conversation more instead of
debating.
So because now it's so rich coming from different perspective that we're able to nini. So how ulikuwa unasema?
So nilikuwa nasema the idea of a private sector alliance, it's a lobby group for
Yes.
who? For people who make money out of the economy.
Yes.
What they want is to be able to make more money easily, pay less tax. You know, like, and I'm one of them. So it's not their role to do an egalitarian, socialist, public policy. Like, that is not the place of KEPSA to say everyone in this country must get water and the water must be for free. KEPSA would say, let's create an environment where everyone gets water, whether they choose to buy it or to get the public water. So that's why I'm saying, like, a private sector perspective is for
They're
business
not in
people.
philanthropy.
Yeah, it's for business. So the question I have, is Cruz part of business?
Yes. Okay.
You know, is he able to benefit from the things that KEPSA has successfully negotiated? I feel like a big percentage of our businesses that are informal, because of that characteristic, they are unable to benefit.
True. Okay.
That's all. So,
Now it's clear.
So Harriet.
Yes.
So I have a friend of mine, and I respect her so much because she's really a Kenyan entrepreneur. She's a lady who had problems, health challenges around her reproductive health system, as many of our sisters, mothers, would have, like conditions like endometriosis.
Yep.
Am I saying it right? And medicine, like commercial medicine, is not so efficient to deal with her issues. And so she had a big job abroad, and every time a condition comes up or it moves to a different part, she has a surgery, she has to be away from work. And so her condition is affecting her productivity and her career. And so she goes for a surgery and another surgery and another surgery. And then whenever her grandmother visits her or she comes back home, anapewa mitini dawa, anapewa ile kibuyu na maji inakaa red huko ndani. She drinks that stuff for a month or two, her career grows, her productivity is back because she's not sick. Ikiisha, anarudi ile cycle ya uchungu, medical, bills, surgery. So she quit her job. She's like, I need to go find out what this dawa is. She goes to Sotik. She makes many vibuyus of that stuff, goes abroad, comes back. Eventually, she's like, I'm just going to make a business out of this. So she goes and gets those meaties. She's never studied biotech things, but this thing
You don't
helps
need
her.
to.
Yeah. So she boils that stuff out of her backyard in big safurias. When I met her, she had like 10 safurias, those big ones. She's boiling meaty. And then she has this church WhatsApp group.
Yeah, meaty, man.
Bruh. Come back to investment. Hey, bro. So, mse, anachemsha hizo vitu, anaziuza, ananunua plastic containers, ana bottle, ana deliver na gari yake, anaanza kumeka 100K, 200K a month. So she comes to our office and gives us that story. She shows us that she's been making money out of this. And then we're like, this sounds legit. But how do we move her from that place where she's boiling stuff from her grandmother's backyard or wherever to actually being a pharmaceutical company?
In manufacturing.
And manufacturing a local product using local technology. And the technology is also the formulation of this Mwarbaine thing. So obviously we give her a seed investment of about $50,000. But where does that money go?
Sema 5 million reka mob.
5 million shillings. I've looked at in camera. 5 million seed capital. You know, we are industrialists. Anyway, and this was very instructive for me because it allowed me to see the creation process. Even before she gets a brand or a business or one more additional machine, she needs to understand what this thing is, where to get it, how they made it, what is the formulation. So she does research. She spends this money going around every community that makes this mitini dawa for women, for fertility, for pregnancy, for ending pains. And then she discovered there's a tree in Kenya called Africana prunus. Africana prunus is one of the most harvested, most endangered tree in Kenya because the whites know about it and some traders know about it. And definitely cows and goats are competing for it and traditional communities, so it's exploited. So watu wanaing'oa, hata we don't even have a sustainable stock. So she's like, yo, this is one of the critical trees where a lot of medicine for both reproduction for men and women comes from. Like in abroad, it's turned into capsules and brands, and we come back and buy
The same.
the same, but in small components that have
And
been.
it came from us.
Yeah, it comes from East Africa
Yeah.
and many regions. And so immediately she decides that she wants to find a conservation perspective because the tree is not her, the formulation is not hers. And so she has to include the community in propagating this kind of tree, in harvesting that kind of tree, delivering that to her and sorting. And amefanya research na do. Asa amesema, I know this thing. But hii mchanganyiko, lazima ipelekwe toxicology report, tests, lazima ikuwe registered. This is the work of creating new things. So we invest, and she goes and looks for free money, she gets partners, so that she now can she can get a certificate that says this thing won't harm people if I go and sell it in town. Because if you sell it in town and it harms someone, they'll come for you. I'll go and sue her, you know. If someone takes it and they get pregnant and they didn't want to, they'll come and sue you because it's now pharmaceutical. So the money goes in research, and that money will never come back at ni trading, you know. So the role for seed money is incubating ideas, maturing ideas, until then now someone can produce a prototype. She got additional investment where now she has a factory that can produce 1,000 bottles a day, you know, and she's employed a network of 5,000 people in this country. It's the fastest selling herbal medical remedy. I can't call it
What's the
medicine. It's called, her brand is called Harriet Botanical. So now we had to formalize her. She had to register the trademark. She had to register the business. She had to register the formulation. She had to create her own formulation and register a trade secret, you know, a registry. She had to buy a type of a bottle. She had to fabricate the machine, get riders, get over 15,
Go through cabs, all
15 shops across the country, get trucks to be delivering these goods on a monthly and weekly. And for now, back then it was an idea, but right now it's a business. And so the issue is we do not have infrastructure and resources that can invest in ideas, bring teams together, compensate them for a thing to become a business.
I mean,
Team sport.
when you talk about, so when the reason why we're having...
I can provide more feedback on this. Because if you look at even your seed capital, 5 million Kenya shillings, it's not little money.
It's not.
And in addition, she had to go out even to look for funding. So it's expensive. So that, I think what we are lacking is now those resources to support those businesses because they require a lot of resources.
Before we talk about...
Yes.
Unaona, before watu useme kuhusu
Yes.
what it requires,
what it requires.
we should go back kidogo and look at what we've been putting in. So how we even define investment. But think about it. So George, by the time apatiane 5 million, kuna previous investment that has happened. Simple level of research to where amebuy dawa kwa duka, amsaidii every time anakam. So inamaanisha ingekuwa nakam Nairobi once a year, sasa anakam twice. So invest fair. Aya, ameenda nini, akaenda any amount of money small, anaenda anamitwa mama huko, wanampatia trade secret, hiyo si ni do. If you're equating using money. And then our mother, your years, accumulative years of learning even a certain, ndio hata umpatie hiyo information, that's investment. So when you talk about investment, and that's what you are trying to get at, is there's no competition about what is really investment if we define. Because an idea, by the time it comes to fruition, by the time we have the product, we're using it, there's different level of investment that has been put over time, both financial, time,
Human, yes.
Human capital,
capital.
whatever,
Expertise.
hizo vitu zote. So if we understand that from the word go, then it means everybody itakuwa team sport now.
Yeah.
So ule mama yangu mimi nikienda kufanya muziki F2, nilikuwa nafanya kazi kwa hoteli, unaona. So okay, siko naomba ruhusa, but nilikuwa na get 50 bob every weekend kutoka kwa shop ya mother kwenda kwa nisa. Somehow my mom has been my investor.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
All through. Yes. So if I define investment, now even you guys, when you do that's
Valuation.
3 months of capacity building, that's investment. So you're spending time, you're spending money, kuna kachai hapo inatembea, kuna nini happen, hiyo ni investment.
And it's
but we
still
just
part. And the business requires still more. Not only, yes.
Yeah, so we talked about investment in African way. Can we talk about it tukimaliza? Can we talk about it from the African way of investment? Because until now, when you talk about capacity building, when you talk about, because the lingo ya report ile utamake,
It's not seen as
it's not an
investment,
African,
yeah.
it's not, nini? So
Investment ni pesa.
that's how we see it. Sindio, can we talk about the African way of doing it? Kabla.
Well, the truth is this, is that, and this I've said this many times, the first investor is always the artist or the creator. That's the first investor, and his family and their time and their social group, because you start selling to the people you know, your schoolmates, that's your first group. But there's always necessary infrastructure for the second round. The problem is, when we think about investment from a business school perspective, we're thinking about it from other ecosystems. That's why the tech ecosystem is an American understanding. I've gone to business school, so I know this. It's majority of traditional local businesses are family-owned businesses that are transferred from one person to the other, and they're not commodities. We never sell our businesses. Your dad is mother and son cooperation. Like how Africans and how we do business is that the business itself is not the commodity. It's the thing we sell in the business. And so now investment and private equity and PE and all these things comes and tells you that your business itself is the commodity. You build it so that we buy it and sell it to someone else to make our money. So that's a secondary market. And I feel like people have to learn so fast to get to understand that I'm not only building a business, but I'm building it as a commodity so that someone buys it, PE, venture capital, and then they sell it to someone called exit, so they make their money, and someone comes in Series A, Series B, and that's like Nairobi money, Silicon Savannah money. And I hope we get more of it so that people have options. They can say, I'll bootstrap and build my business in the way that we build it here.
You know, George, actually, close to 6 billion came in terms of VC funding last year into the African tech ecosystem.
What
80% of that.
Which were the containers? Where did they go?
80% of that was foreign.
It was foreign. It was foreign-owned businesses that are here, either because of tax credits or they're here so that they can attract the money that they couldn't compete for at home.
Yes.
Because it's sexy for you to have an African portfolio, an Asian portfolio. But eventually, I hope that these funds that are being set up, they start to understand local businesses. Like my fund, this is where I plug it in. We are a local fund. Even if some of our capital has come from abroad, our ambition is to support those people that people don't want to support because they don't have a whiteboard member, or they didn't go to Ivy League to study, so that now they come and say Kune. To compete with Mama Mboga, and kiosks. So
George,
I have no problem with that kind of model of business, but it's just one type of business. It's one vernacular of business.
Say if Juliani and I hypothetically wanted to start a fund to support creatives and technologists, what's the process?
ambition, and you get
No,
money.
I mean the actual process, like legally.
Sinaenda tu kuomba mado kwa watu alafu
No, you just need to know where the money
Mandiko.
is, and you work backwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the thing for me is that there's no money seated somewhere waiting for you to create your vehicle, unless you are in another ecosystem where there are 100 billionaires and they all want to get tax credits by moving money to another ecosystem or to a charity or something.
Right.
Kenya, our billionaires are using their monies to put up gated communities and to buy
And offshore accounts.
offshore accounts.
T-bills
But
and all
in
this
other
stuff.
ecosystems, there is tax credits for them to give to charity.
Yes.
There is incentive for them to give. So if you're in that ecosystem, you create a vehicle, then you do the pitch rounds. In a year, you have 1 billion shillings. But in our ecosystem, our money means something. In this country, and this is the thing I try to disabuse a lot of people who go for these incubators and pitch sessions, who imagine that there's money in a shelf somewhere, that all they need to do is finesse through language and pitch decks. That's not the kind of money that exists.
There's a place for that, though.
There is. It
There's
exists.
a place for that. And that's why there's a place for that, because
Yes.
unajua, they're doing something that what Nani you are alluding to, sindio? They're doing, preparing.
No. I'm
preparing
not
the
talking,
minds
I'm not
and
talking
preparing-
about the competence for investor readiness. That's not what I'm talking about. It's the assumption that there's this truckload of money that came into the country that will be given to their business.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That money doesn't exist. That money, I'll give you an example. If you cannot compete with the market, this guy has, say, $100 million. That $100 million to come to you, you have to convince them that they will earn what the opportunity cost for that money. The Nairobi Stock Exchange for the last 10 years has been giving a maximum of 17% per annum. So any money that I'll give you has to demonstrate that I am not losing the opportunity to make 17% per annum at the Nairobi Stock Exchange, for example. So private money has a coupon, and your business has to be able to know that it will deliver the cost of that money.
So is that the same person alipatia Elon Musk do ya kwenda Mars ya kuuza vitu zote? So unadhani he's going to ask those same questions 17% per annum?
I don't know, maybe you say.
You look even more. Let me tell you. You know how they look at every investor will always look at the different investment opportunities that are available. What are the risks? What are the different risks on those and the return? So they balance between risks and the return. So if you look at now the startups, because they are the most risks, have a lot of risks. So it has to demonstrate that they will get the highest return from them.
So that's the thing. It's expensive money.
Yes.
And so I always feel like you shouldn't start with the most expensive money, because it gives you the highest pressure to do your prototyping, to take to market, to scale, to return the money. You should go for the cheapest money.
Yes.
And that's why I say there has to be development resources, and they should be development resources.
100%
And
agreed,
then
George.
there should be
And
private
Don't
money.
they also-
raise expensive money.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier,
And they also
because it'll
look at-
cost you.
Yeah, look at it this way. For every funds that is available, we have more than 10 times of people who need it. So you have to, I'm just supporting George. You have to demonstrate out of the one, because you are one, out of 10, you are the most qualified to get the funding. So if for every $1 or for every 1 shilling, an investor should give you that money. So you have to demonstrate that you are the most qualified.
Which money is the closest money to entrepreneurs?
Drug money.
No, that one is even more expensive than private venture capital.
Friends and family?
Yes, but then it depends with how deep the pockets of your social network is.
Yeah.
The closest money has always been working capital solutions from commercial banks, retail commercial banks, and SACCOs. Can you get an overdraft? Can you get a short-term loan that's cheaply? Can you get, because you don't need to know anyone, you just need to have the requisite documents and you get your 45K.
Yes.
You pay it over 90 days, you return, you continue to do your business and bootstrap. A lot of businesses in Kenya do not get private equity. they get
They can't.
a bank
It's very
loan,
expensive.
and then they return. So the best use for,
Or shamas, you know how
shamas.
people save and they can be able
or
to
you
borrow,
plow
they
your
can
own
convert.
profits
Or
back to the business.
All family money, you know.
But how many families will give you 100,000?
But I'm
Yes.
saying,
Yeah.
you know, there are those who will require 1,000 because different business have different financial needs. There are those who will require 1 million. There are those who will require just 1,000 to finance something that they wanted. So it depends. So there are all those financial options, whether it's family money, which is, if it's available,
It's the cheapest.
it's the cheapest because it's
Family
usually free.
money,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's usually free. You go to most of the business of chama,
It's
table banking.
expensive. Even banks are expensive.
Table banking, yeah. No, in terms of accessibility, I'm looking at.
But it's expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive, but in terms of accessibility,
It is,
it's very accessible.
And for platforms like this, where we have to speak the truth to people and be honest, and I wouldn't tell people to chase that 800 billion that comes in FDI, because only like 2 or 3 businesses that we know and at the top of the cream will get that kind of money.
Yeah.
But the broadest category of people who can get money is through commercial credit instruments. And so anyone who wants to support businesses is to make sure that cheap credit is available. And so MasterCard should put a credit guarantee fund at Jamii Bora Trust, so that if someone has a Jamii Bora Trust bank close to them, and they are running a tailoring business, and the high season is coming because schools are about to open, so they need to buy more fabric so they can make more uniforms, and they want to do that in advance, they'll go and get a short-term business loan that's pegged to their business performance, whether that's 200,000 shillings or 100,000 shillings or 50,000, then they grow their business using working capital solutions, because if we prepare ourselves for private equity, that's the smallest amount of money available in the market, and we do not have competence for it.
To get
and
it.
it's the most expensive.
Yes.
And some businesses can get there, but a minority of businesses will go for equity and these complicated structures. But most people will be financed through business structure.
So I think...
And probably just to add on that, because even if we get the credit guarantees came by different people, one of the limiting factor for working with banks is that banks look at formality, in terms, so the business must both.
I don't think it's limiting. What I think is, if you think at that level, it's good for you.
It's good for you.
That's what
you
I'm
just need to
saying.
know your place.
There has to be different models and different approaches supporting different kind of businesses, because different businesses are at different levels.
Different levels.
And they require different funding, which they may not access, just like George is saying. Even if you want to go to a bank that has a credit guarantee, and we have one that is government supported, but we have a challenge with absorption because of the requirements. So there are different things that is happening.
Tukiconclude hii story,
Yes.
Sasa tumepiga hii story sana na kuna mastori zimehata hatungemaliza. But so kama mimi ni msee nataka kukatia mrembo, niko na kamrembo fulani. Na huyu mrembo najuanga ni mrembo wa mtaa, si ndio? Na huyu nikimpeleka Java ako tu sawa. Unaona? Kuna mwingine ukimpeleka Kepinski, ndio unamwingiza boss. Kuna vile ukivaa suti,
Uko sawa.
kuna ule uko ndai. So based on ule mrembo unadai, jisort.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
Yes, what we are saying is that the investor has to identify his needs.
This is the investor or the business? The business.
It's both the investor and the business.
I meant the business. The business has to identify wants the needs and what is in the market.
Okay.
And then be able now to go to the ones that meet their
risk profile.
Haya.
Their risk profile. Yeah.
Tumalize. So
tumalize.
unasema invest let's say investor ni Manzi,
Yes.
business ni Charlie. So kama mimi ni Manzi, nataka Charlie kama George akona fund nini, nicheze level yake.
Yes.
Ama nianze ku pull up socks, na kama ni accept if I'm not that level, I don't try kujichocha ni poa, but you don't try to play that level, start somewhere. and then I'll build over time.
Yeah.
So in Amansha, there need to be intentionality on both sides.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, and
Correct.
people to know where they are, where they're standing, so that they're able to place themselves before they move. Matchmaking. So we can't complain necessarily. Though there's somebody who has to play the part of preparing the land.
Yes.
There's somebody who has to be the way you guys are doing. So you're saying we are established businesses, but we have interest in the ecosystem, so that, of course, eventually you have more members if you pull people up. So you tell them, if you want to play this level, you have to have these papers, you have to do this, you have to do this. And pia unaambia ukitaka ido yangu ya 2 billion, you need to do this, you need to do this. But we can, tukiwa na hii poa, we can still reach out to your level. That's what we are all saying. Okay.
True.
So, okay, lazima you do a Kenya thing. Final words. Alafu niseme vote of thanks.
Well, my final words is that enterprise is not easy. But enterprise is a beautiful path where you can apply yourself. You see the things that you dream come alive. You transform people's lives. And you also make cash for your life. When I started making money, I started to understand how to live. The things that I desired, I could access them. My parents stopped feeling, I started feeling pity. Unajua ushaomba kitu unashindwa nitaanza wapi. When you have cash, you know that vitu tu za God ndio siwezi fanya. Like if she needs medicine, like, you start getting dignity because you own something, you have something for yourself. You start to realize those things that you want for yourself. So I'd encourage people to go into enterprise because it's a good path for you to get your own dignity, to get money, to affect your life. But enterprise is not a path for everyone. There are people who should go for employment because they are great employees and they'll be promoted. Someone else deal with the entrepreneur things, But if you're an entrepreneur, you should know it's your responsibility to find business opportunities, take risk on them. If they fail, it was your risk. If they succeed, hey, celebrate or mom, celebrate your victory. So we don't want to raise a generation of entrepreneurs who are expecting soft, free things.
Entitled.
And this ecosystem of sijui, hubs, sijui, incubation, that's someone else trying to make it easier. And remove the barriers for you. But that's not business. That's not business. That's not the business. The business is you going to produce that product and selling it to someone and making an income, a revenue, a profit ethically. And so I even want to celebrate people who go beyond trading, who believe that they can create something that is new for their society, create a solution that didn't exist before, create a new way of doing business, of doing life. In Nairobi now, you sit in your house, you can order any type of food to your house and it will arrive in 30 minutes and you pay through M-Pesa. That didn't exist 10 years before. Right now, I was going for someone's concert. I looked at my outfit, I was like, I need a white shoe. I ordered a shoe before I went into the shower. And by the time I dressed up, the shoe had arrived, I wore, nikaenda concert. That's someone creating a solution, and that someone took a risk, put money, put time. And so I celebrate that kind of people because those are the people who will create jobs, who will create wealth, who will transform communities. It is Cruz now thinking that he can make a shoe instead of selling Chinese knockoff shoes. And taking the bait that maybe let me learn how to get a factory together so that I can make sandals, or a type of shoe for someone that I have in mind, So that is the next level of enterprise where we start to create solutions and hopefully make money out of these solutions that we create. And I'm glad that I've seen in your program, you won't be talking only to people who hold the money like us, but you'll be talking to people who take risk and who make money and who enjoy being on the field playing, not like us, who I sit on the bleachers
fence?
looking for one who runs fast for me to bet on them. But people like us who are intermediaries should bet into the future. The country we have today is because someone bet on today. They said, I will put a Sarit Center 30 years ago because there'll be a middle class, and we'll create a lifestyle around these middle class people who go to shop everything on Sunday afternoon and enjoy, and they spend not 1,000 shillings in a supermarket, but 5,000 shillings because they went to the restaurant, they went to the supermarket, they parked their car, they went to the salon in the same building. So they bet on us today. So we also have to bet on the future. What is this future that we want? I am making the bets today. I'm investing in young people who are creating shoes, who are creating clothes, who are creating games, who are creating dawa,
Music.
and as many people as can bet on the future, because we make money tomorrow for the seed we planted today. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, mine will be very short. So for me, I think one of the things that both the investor and the business people, they have to do, they have to be intentional and deliberate in terms of supporting each other. And if you look at the business people, especially the startups, they have to be deliberate and intentional in ensuring that the vision that they have in their business is met through the different opportunities that are available in the market. If it's investments, they have to go out, they have to prepare themselves first and look at the opportunities that are there, match with their needs. They should be able also to be, once they match their need, they should be able to risk. Because sometimes it's only when you risk that you can be able to also get more return. I know business is also not straightforward. So even with the intention and being deliberate, there are likely to be ups and downs. So that should not make them not go for it, because sometimes you will borrow or you will get more fund, but it not go the way that you wanted. Keep trying, keep pushing, and I'm very sure that you will succeed as a business when you are intention and deliberate in meeting your vision. Thank you.
My co-host, do you have parting shot?
For me, I think this has been very enriching because we have an African definition of investment, and that investment is not only money, it's who invested in you, whether it was actually giving you that education, human capital, sweat equity. So there are different types of investment in this part of the continent, this part of the country. So let's embrace that.
I think kwangu me, the only challenge I have is that once we draw the lines, we know who is, because for me, so I always use an example in trying to understand life. As an artist too, when I started rapping, nilikuwa high school, and then kunavuka tu barabara and wasa uko fulani mwa alikuwa hapo. So these guys were so cool, and I just wanted to be close to them, and incubator, exactly. So this guy, when I was sitting next to Kalamashaka, bro, hasa kwa gazeti jana, and then now today, naona hivi. Huyu jamaa was willing to panguza their shoe so that I just be close to them. So, but the more I sat down with them, the more I realized, kumbe I need to write lyrics like this. Kumbe this is how a song is like. And this. So the investment, it wasn't money, but there was an investment around community. And then after hapo, nikaenda nikamit Emmanuel, akina Kanji Bogo, jamani to DJ Moz. DJ Moz sasa now, I got saved and whatever, so I started doing high school tours. So the more I did high school tours, I realized that when I was rapping, boys school alikuwa wananifeel, but girls school alikuwa wananichuja, unaona? Because I was so deep into it. And then so I realized, hey, wacha nikuwe deep, but let me add on to something. So I started doing gimmicky stuff when performing. So, hey, warembo alikuwa nazipenda, unaona? So I was like, hey, I add into value. So by the time that finished, and then I went, of course, I was signed to a UK label. I got 300,000. Jal called me and said, hey, I have 300,000 for you, we'll invest in to do the first album. So the first album was paid for by a record label. And then beyond that now, over time I grew. So if I look at from this conversation peke yake, I realize that people are investing in me
in different stages.
In different stages. Unaona, by the time now I can go to talk to KEPSA and talk to say, hey, can you come and join me into this Nairobi Startup Week or whatever, and now I'm actually, you guys are even investing your time, you invested whatever. Normally new to jamasimu za watu, but umeitika kama hapa. So you get. So I'm sure if I called you 10 years ago, you wouldn't have responded promptly the way you did today.
Yes.
Because other people had to invest at that level. And then now at this level people are investing. So Kenya tuna try to get at is, if we look at those angles, we look at those at this particular level, and we cut a line too. Before we try to talk about things are not working, let's cut your line too, and then we know each part. It's a team sport, which place kila mtu ana play. Then we'll be not hard on ourselves sana, because we're always looking at ourselves from other people's point of view. You know, we won't be hard on ourselves, but now we start appreciating actually what we have, and now from there now imagine what it can be.